If VR became the only way to play games, the entire gaming industry would shift dramatically. Traditional consoles and screens would become obsolete, and every game would require a fully immersive VR setup. This change would create deeper engagement, but it would also raise concerns about accessibility, comfort, and long-term effects. A new standard for game development. Developers would need to design every game with 360-degree environments, realistic physics, and motion tracking. Traditional game mechanics, such as static HUDs and minimaps, would need rethinking. Instead, players might rely on gestures, voice commands, and environmental cues, making gameplay more natural but also more complex. Increased physical involvement in gaming. VR gaming requires more movement than traditional gaming, which could make gaming more physically engaging. Players might need to walk, dodge, and interact with objects in real time. This shift could promote physical activity but might also limit accessibility for those with disabilities or physical limitations. The end of passive gaming? With VR as the only option, passive gaming, where players sit back and casually play, would disappear. Gamers who enjoy relaxed, controller-based play might struggle with the more active requirements of VR. Some games might introduce seated or minimal movement modes, but the overall shift would make gaming more physically demanding. The evolution of social gaming. Multiplayer gaming would change drastically as players fully embody their avatars. Communication would feel more natural with real-time gestures and eye contact, making online interactions more immersive. However, this could also introduce challenges like increased social anxiety and a stronger emotional impact from negative interactions. The cost and accessibility barrier. VR gaming requires expensive headsets, motion controllers, and possibly even full body tracking equipment. If VR became the only option, gaming would become less accessible to those who can't afford the necessary technology. This could widen the gap between casual and hardcore gamers, making gaming a more exclusive hobby. Potential for motion sickness and discomfort. Not all players can comfortably play VR games for long periods. Motion sickness, eye strain, and fatigue could become major concerns, especially if all gaming required extended VR sessions. Developers would need to optimize VR experiences to minimize discomfort and ensure that players could game comfortably for hours. A new level of gaming addiction? With VR's heightened realism, the line between gaming and reality could blur even further. Players might find themselves more immersed than ever, potentially leading to increased addiction risks. If gaming felt as real as everyday life, some might struggle to maintain a balance between the virtual and physical world. The future of storytelling in VR games. Story-driven games would become more interactive, allowing players to experience narratives from a first-person perspective. Choices, emotions, and interactions would feel more personal, making storytelling more impactful. However, it would also challenge developers to create believable, non-repetitive AI interactions that adapt to players' actions. Would VR-only gaming be sustainable? If VR became the only option, the industry would need to overcome technological, economic, and accessibility hurdles. While a fully VR world would create unparalleled immersion, it could alienate many players who prefer traditional gaming. The future of gaming would depend on how well developers and companies adapt to these drastic changes.